See to it that you sit comfortably. And just notice. Fully attentive. Just notice your inner space. Whatever is experienced in this moment, just allow it into your awareness. No need to resist or enhance. Completely allowing whatever arises. And in this constant movement of things coming and going, you just reside as the first I. The sense of self that is prior to everything. Call it the stillness, silence, whatever you like. No matter your inner state, if there are emotions, thoughts, physical sensations, a deep sense of silence, whatever the experience is, just be with that. Do not dismiss any state. There is no wrong in your experience. And if you get stuck on the experience, just find out to whom it is happening. Investigate the source of your experience. Identification is a subtle thing. You're often blind to it because you're so used to it. But witnessing a thought, a detached witness to it, is always possible. Nothing can hold you, really. It can seem to have its grip of you. But as soon as you understand who is held, the grip is no more. Your life situation is all your memories, all your ideas, your projections. But your life is only this moment. And being with this moment and accepting it as it is determines the quality of that experience. It does not make your life perfect. It does not fix the ideas of your problems. But it changes the outlook of everything. Takes you away from the idea that your life is your circumstances and changes it into the present. You can open your eyes, move your body, move your hands, stretch out your legs if you need to. There are so many paradoxes in meditation. The paradox that there's nothing new to be taught in meditation. But through the experience of meditation, everything feels new. And it's just one of many ways that meditation reveals that it is beyond words. You can listen to whatever I say and interpret it as a philosophy. You can remember things. And you can live your life through them as a strategy. But that is not the purpose of this talk. The purpose of this talk is to reach you beyond that, to reach beyond intellectual knowledge. And if you just connect, if you feel like I don't understand anything he talks about, but you connect with the silence behind it, then that's great. He used to have his courses in Swedish, and there was a man from Argentina who came. He was very interested in spirituality, but he didn't know any Swedish. And I think he might have had one of the best experiences of everyone in the course, because he was never fooled by language. He said, I just enjoy the stillness here so much. And I think that is a beautiful way to point to what we're looking at here. And it makes a wonderful conundrum, because it also needs something from you. It needs that this experience brings from you. Not the idea of you, but the real you. There is something inside that can resonate, that can give the feeling that, okay, this talks to me. And that in you is that. You can say, I don't really know how to listen to that. It's not really clear to me. Sometimes I get confused by my mind, by my strategies and my ideas. But there is a trust that can start to be built by this intuitive sense. It will often, it always have a pull towards truth and towards understanding yourself. And it doesn't always want something nice. It can do that in uncomfortable ways. It is the sense in you that goes against your fears. I'm scared of this, but there's something in it that I want. I want to know. And it's so easy to think that you go and listen to non-dual talk, satsangs, or you read different teachers, and it just fills your mind. But at some point, you have to notice how it resonates here with you, where it's not just a thought thing. Because as soon as you start to realize that, there is a sense of coming home. And sometimes this home feels far away because you have taken a trip with your mind. You're identified with too many things, and it feels like home is nowhere to be found. But suddenly, it's back. You let go of your identity, let go of the mind for a little bit, and you just come back here. And the scary part lies in the idea that the egoic mind is in control. Because in coming home again, you have to let go of that control. You have to have faith. You have to dare to trust these words. And meditation is always most difficult in the beginning. Because you doubt. You put all this effort in, and you feel unsure sometimes if it yields any results. And sometimes you're super sure because you come home. That moment, no doubt. But then again, the mind comes back. You identify with something. And, oh, does it really work? I don't think I'm doing this right. And you need to be reminded again and again through a talk, through a book. And it feels like a tug of war. Isn't that what you call it when you pull a rope? A lot of people on one side, all of them. It feels like that. It feels like you have to have some effort, which the winds are in the right direction and you're on the right team. And then maybe you can be in this moment as it is for a little while. It feels random. It feels sporadic. Not entirely impossible, but almost. And you really try to let go. You try in all kinds of ways. You understand that you're stuck. You recognize it now, and you really try to let go. And there is no, doesn't work. I don't know what I'm gonna let go of. And then you give up, and then you cry, and then you really let go. And it becomes an enigma to the mind. It becomes a puzzle to solve. And maybe you have quite good intellectual capacities, so you think, I'm good at solving things. I can solve this. And the trying to solve it just frustrates you. And you tried all these strategies now, and you start to feel sick of it. I think everyone goes through that. And the moments when you're home, again, there is no doubt. Feels like the easiest thing because it requires no effort. And that is the key. When is effort correct? Where does the effort start? And who is putting in the effort? All that creates duality. All that creates tension. Yes. There is a microphone. We have some people on the stream. So if you take the microphone. Yes, take the microphone.
So my question is, can this coming home be experienced?
It is the flavor of coming home that is experienced. The coming home in itself is just isness. But from that, you will experience gratitude will be very close. you will feel deep contentment. You don't feel that anything needs to be added or subtracted from this moment. So that's how you recognize it.
Thank you. I usually attend these online, but when I practiced the inquiry, your satsang, there came a point a few months ago where, when investigating the stillness, the question was more pointed um, to the sense of self, and I couldn't find it. So it was kind of like there was no one there. So there was no subject-objective relationship to my experience. It was I would almost explain it as only objective. And there was no really a center to where it was experienced from. So it was almost like experiencing itself. And I haven't been able to put words on it, which makes sense, right? So that's my question was if there's a small, vague flavor of experience of the experience itself, and yeah, so that's what I've experienced.
Yes.
Many experience, but yeah.
Yes, and all these traits that are with just being as you are, like there is no center to the experience. There's no one experiencing it, there's no sense of an I like that. There is just experiencing, and also the lack of duality. All these expressions are expressions of the relative, are expressions of consciousness in awareness.
Yeah.
Was there some question more about this?
Every time I'm here, my questions dissolves midway, so I don't know. I had a bunch when I came here.
Okay.
I need to think if I have anyone left.
But you had the clarity not to write them down. That's good.
Yeah. So the mind, as you say, want to be in control. So it want to have like the faucet, like to know this. Okay, this experience was whatever they're talking about, the absolute or whatever.
Yes.
And letting go of that again, and it comes back to having that experience in some way. Sometimes I find it useful to have words to talk about, to have a conversation about it at all, even though no word is fair enough to explain it. Kind of is my experience of it.
Yes.
So they're often then get glimpsed randomly without a center. It keeps happening more often and often, and there's it's very peaceful. And at first it was very scary, and now it's more like the sound is appearing where the sound is, instead of I can't explain it. But so I don't know if I have a question left. if then there's clinging to that experience. Since
Yes.
that's the experience, then there's a sense of I coming back, wanting that experience again.
Yes.
And I'm stuck in time, back in control, and letting go. So my one question could maybe be, I often realize that when I let go of effort, then it gets still again. The experience or half experience of this, whatever it is, comes back when I let go of the effort. But there still feels like there's some small choice or
Doership.
a doership, yeah. And that means it's a doer, and then it's back to two, and then I let go of that, and it's back to nothing or everything. And
But also in the effort of letting go is often a duality.
yes.
That's why it becomes a paradox for too many people, because yes, I have to let go, but who is the letting goer? there is no letting goer. That is the whole thing. There is no one who can let go because there is no one who is.
Yes. And yet there's a practice, a non-practice almost.
Yes. It's a good explanation of it, a non-practice. Because when we talk about practices, we usually talk about the strategy that people apply and then they have to uphold. But in non-dual meditation, it is not a strategy to hold. It's to get rid of the strategies that keeps up the egoic structures. So as soon as you notice something that is not needed, you will no longer hold on to it, and there is freedom. That's why the experience of your practice should be that there is more and more space in your mind. There should be more spaciousness. There should be more, a bigger gap between thoughts. And if that doesn't happen, come and talk to me. If that is not your experience of your practice, then you have to expose what you are up to.
Thank you.
Thank you.
But that's not like a linear experience though, right? With the consistency of the getting more and more silent, because they can come like waves of a lot of motion and things happening, and in my case crescendos of circuses, and then back to nothingness again.
Yes.
So it's
but
not like
we're talking you have to look at it a bit broader, because it's not going to be from day to day like a progressive thing, because there will be the habits of the egoic mind that can take you on routes again and again. So there will be spacious moments, and then you can be identified again, and to be aware of if that is just a thing that is going on. And then there's also the aspect of old tendencies, of vasanas coming up. That's also an aspect that can make the mind very busy right when that happens. But then it usually feels very peaceful, because you can really feel this clearing out aspect of it. They have a very, they have a finality to them, the vasanas. And when the egoic mind is just bringing up a storm and then going back a little bit, that has no finality usually. Not that kind of sense. It's just a movement.
But I feel like it doesn't relate to the quote unquote spaciousness, not even in the thoughts. Like there's less thoughts and there's less emotions, but I feel like those cycles can still happen, at least for me.
And the big thing is always your identification with it, because if you don't feel it, you can feel like it's storming, a lot of thoughts, a lot of emotions, but nothing is related to you. So this is also, and when we talk about silence, we just talk in a very general term, that you will experience more space in your life, and that also makes the experience of the body more prevalent. That feels more in the foreground than before. If thoughts are very much in the foreground, you feel very heady. But as soon as there is space, you will also feel the body much more. When you're walking, you will experience the body. You will have much more of those kind of, that will be much more prevalent. Was there something else?
Yeah, but it went away.
Okay.
Thank you.
That might be related, I guess. It's regarding the sort of detachment of it. So being questioning who is it that feels a certain way, or who is it that has the thoughts about something, is very useful, I think, and I can, yeah, that seems to help let the mind go and just to be more in being. But I wonder if there are certain emotions which need to be felt, if there's sort of older things in the body which need to sort of come up. Just wondering about a sort of, I don't know where the sort of balance is there, because I think I know in some way that if there's a lot of sort of thoughts, like just thoughts of the same thing, chick, 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 same thing again and again, this is just usually noise. And that's pretty easy to let go. Yeah. But I think if there's some sort of feeling, and I think the feelings sort of have come for me more, maybe a little bit like what you say, like what you feel in the body. I'm allowed to feel more feelings in my body now. I don't automatically attach them to a thought. But I don't know if it's a good idea to just try and let this go, or if it should be something to be experienced, or what do you think
Yes,
about that?
the emotion, there is no problem with experiencing them. They happen because they want to be expressed. But as soon as we relate to them, and as soon as we relate to them with identification, then we create something. Then we start to create a story about why am I feeling this way, and how can I avoid it, and blah blah blah, and then it just goes on. But the expression of emotions and feeling, if however free you feel, you will feel if your parent die, you will feel a sense of loss. There will come grief. All these things. But the difference is just the connectivity to identification. You won't have any idea of how long you should grieve, if it's wrong or right, or if you're too much or too emotional or too little emotional, or because you will just allow the expression to happen. And with all emotions, that is the way to be with them. Even anxiety or emotions that we think are could consider negative, just be with them. They want to be expressed. They want to be there. And if there is no resistance to them, if they can just happen, they will just happen. They will come, stay for a while, and go. That is the movement of everything. And the emphasis of coming home and coming back to awareness as a foundation in your life is because then you will notice that everything has this nature, even this body. Every relationship you have, everything has this coming and going nature. However you relate to every thought, to every concept, every material thing, whatever it is, it all has this movement.
What do we mean with expressing the emotions? Is it not enough to feel them, or do we have to cry or shout or things like
No, no, that the emotions are being expressed. When I say that, I just mean as to the opposite of that would be to withhold them, to suppress, or in some way try to manipulate your emotion. And to express them is just to feel them. It doesn't mean that you have to express out. You can just you can just experience the expression of the feeling. Hope that clarified it.
When emotions come from that non-identified space, it feels more as there's just an emotion, or one experiencing the emotion, and then it's untouched. It's letting be whatever it is, and it's like a flame burning out on its own, kind of. That's my experience of it.
Yes.
Lately, at least. And I, in relative terms, of course, but have a background being very much of an empath, carrying others' emotions and pain, and suffered a lot because of that. So for me now, sometimes it feels less being in this state, or how to explain it, kind of feels selfish, even though it's a really stupid word. There's literally no self there. But yeah, it feels more like I'm kind of a psychopath compared to before, because I don't carry the pain of
You have the
others.
feeling of leaving other people behind.
Yes. Or not caring, because my
Yes.
idea of loving someone has been sharing their pain, and
Yes.
not doing that makes it less intimate in some way. And I understand it's also just relative. It's also just what is. So I'm kind of just curious if that makes any sense, or it might even be common for someone with the same background.
Yes. This is nothing strange. This is normal. And depending on your past conditioning and the views that you have held of yourself and your position, and what it is to love, for example, what it is to care, all those things will change. But and in a sense, it could seem like you're less intimate, but there's also the possibility of much more intimacy because of that. Because as soon as you identify with the role as someone who is loving and caring and doing good, you also carry the burden of that. You always carry the flip side of that you experienced a lot, it seems. So the freedom of that means that you can really listen to people, really be present with them, not being afraid that you're not a good enough person or you should be in a certain way. That is freedom. And that is also a great gift of love towards that person. Because many people confuse the idea of helping and what that is. They think it's a very simple thing. You should just help people, that then you're a good guy. And if you don't, you're not. But helping so often just creates dependency. And the real help would be to just be with people as you would be with your own emotions or thoughts. Be without reacting. And this could seem, but what do you mean, be without reacting? Then I'm not helping. Yes, but the most safe a person will feel if they tell you something devastating is happening in their life. Say that they got to know that they have cancer, and they tell you, and you just listen, and you're just there with them. If they cry, you're there with them. They don't need your advice. They don't need you to fix them. They don't need your 5 best ideas of how to go forward. They just need you to be there. And that has so much more strength, because what that person is usually afraid of is that people are going to freak out and try to fix them and try to do all things and running around like crazy. That's their worst nightmare in that. If someone is just as they are, then it's beautiful. And it's the same thing here as it is here. And of course, the obvious way when people need help in a situation, if they're drowning, jump into the water and save them. That's not what I mean. And if you interpret this with your mind only, you can do these crazy things. That's why I have to say things like that. Of course, you should help people in the moment with whatever happens, but that has nothing to do with the idea of yourself as a helper. That is something completely different. Then it just becomes identity, and then it becomes a role that you have to uphold. And yes, you know the burden of it.
Yes. Is there a chance? Well, I guess there is a chance that coming from this space, there could be a new identity, a more subtle identity that is using this as a concept to not feel and not act and not do good. So is there a way to navigate what is truly just being?
Yes,
It-
you have to really explore what is the mind and what is the intuitive sense and what it is to be. Because to take those harsh stands intellectually and make a very black and white assumption, that is very much of the mind. If you see those tendencies right away, you should notice that is the mind in play. I don't have to act here because so and so. That just, and also resist the naturalness of things. That you will notice it initially, and then you can make a habit of your thoughts, and then you think it's just natural. So that's the danger with thoughts and with not questioning them. But all these ideas of a very black and white world where you have a distinct standpoint always to something is very much of the mind. Mind says, they did like this. I don't trust those kind of people. Then this is very much the mind. It loves this black and white categorizing. It doesn't want to keep things open. And it doesn't like, let's see what happens. it says, I know what's going to happen, and it's going to be disaster, or it's going to be great, or it's going to be, and to just recognize these things, these tendencies of the mind, so you don't have to be fooled time and time again. And then there is, of course, a very subtle ego that, for example, can just feel superior. If you start to feel very silent, it can just start to feel like I'm better than other people because I really got this meditation thing on lock. It won't say that like straight out, but you will just have you will start to walk with your chest a little bit more. You will sit a little bit more because you think that there is something to you. You think that you are special. And as soon as that clicks in, that's also the egoic mind has some investment in that. But those things can be very subtle, and you can be very humble in talking about your superiority. You. Yes.
Too many questions. I think I had an idea meditating earlier in the week where everything just seemed very effortless, and I could tell my thoughts were going on and on and on. I think it gave me an insight that I just wanted to ask you about, or an idea. And it was a sort of idea that this sort of idea of enlightenment or something. It isn't like that, oh, now I'm enlightened and then I don't have any anxiety or I don't have any difficult thoughts or anything like that. Just had this idea that it's just like where it's just like all of that stuff just happens and there's no resistance to it. Do you understand what
Yes,
I mean?
but in your current state also, whatever you sense to be nonsense in your thoughts, if it just comes random things that doesn't mean anything to you and doesn't relate to you, and you would ask, how do they affect you? They don't, because you don't consider them important. You don't consider them say anything about your state or.
Yeah, I think it was. I think I knew.
That is non-identification.
Yeah. I guess that's also like this detachment that I asked you about maybe a month or so ago. Which gave a very nice answer about vairagya. We talked about this, and then you just said it's just. I think it's just. I can't remember exactly what you said, but it's very beautiful. Just something about allowing things, not taking things personally. And then, but I think I've had an intellectual idea about becoming enlightened, as it were, which is that where all of the objects align, that like now I'm happy with everything. Now I feel happy with I have no bad thoughts or annoying emotions. And then I sort of realized that no, that's like a state of mind I'm trying to achieve. But does that sound like I'm on the right path there in realizing that this is
Yes,
not,
because the whole idea of perfection doesn't allow for much space. You understand? Because as soon as you want the mind to behave perfectly, that is like that is extreme control that you're looking for. And and everything that does not fit into your idea of this perfection has no place in your life. So how can everything be accepted in that? It cannot. So everything has to be allowed. All the things that you find disgusting with yourself, or perverted, or wrong, or shameful, or they also have to come. They can express emotionally everything. So don't look for perfection. Just find out who you are. Where is the source? Where is the source of thoughts? Where is the source of the idea of me?
Please let me know if there's too much questions. I might have too many after all. But what I've noticed lately is that my search for has not been the same. There hasn't been a search for happiness or to not suffer. It kind of lost its. There's another purpose to why I still read and why I still have an interest in the sages and their teachings, and not necessarily a goal or it comes from another place. It's not the search for enlightenment or not to suffer or that had been for years. That's find a better state or better whatever. It is what it is. It comes more of an acceptance, more of a letting go. And with that, the search for something better also disappeared in a way. And with that, another search for pure interest, because I find it interesting the stories of the that you share and with Nisargadatta and Ramana Maharshi. I read the stories, so now I wonder stuff out of interest more than in order to find an answer for my suffering.
Okay.
Could that make it? Could that? I wonder if there's still an I that is interested, or if there's just interest.
Yes, there is a very natural movement towards knowing oneself, and that is like a It's like awareness has an interest in knowing oneself, knowing what it is. And I think that is the drive that everyone has. But it's just disguised through the egoic mind as I am looking for happiness. I think that this external thing or event will bring me happiness, so I try to achieve that. And then the more you poke at those things, and I sometimes jokingly say that may all your dreams be crushed, because you will notice that you will look for happiness in one place and another, and you will notice that they're not fulfilling you. Even if you get success or you get money or you get fame or whatever you want, it does not satisfy you. You still feel the same. So then your interest shifts. It changes towards more spiritual things, but you can still have like an investment in that. There can still be an egoic investment that says this is more pure way of looking than this. So all those things are good to be aware of, because it's so easy if you read about sages, then you start to know things like at a certain point, Nisargadatta says that you will no longer search for enlightenment. You will just feel content, and there is something else that pulls that. And I'm not saying in your case. I just say that it's very easy to read those things and try to imitate, that the egoic mind tries to imitate that state. So you just say, be aware of that. Look and see what if it's where this longing comes from, and see if there is any duality in it, which usually rears its head at some stage. It can be very sneaky if you're very good at doing your inquiry and you're staying aware a lot. The egoic mind also can take a position of a stealth position. It can be very stealthy, and it doesn't like do these normal expressions of just bluntly expressing things, because it knows that you're very much onto it. So it can, but it can still be there in the background, trying to puppeteer a little bit.
Thank you. And how do we say that word?
Justify.
Justify a search or interest in these teachings without an egoic state? How do we justify?
But then you have to say that there is a problem always, that it's somehow connected to the egoic state. But that is also unavoidable in the search. You will look through the search as you will look through the search. You will look at it at a certain point through an egoic state. That's something that you want to achieve, something that is in the future, or whatever tendencies that you can see that, oh, there is egoic investment in this. And it will change. And also to trust the longing for itself. Also trust awareness longing for itself, because that will be there, and it will be very clear that is, oh, this has been the motor all along. This has been the engine that is driving this search all along. It's just had been confused with so many things. First, I was searching for the perfect partner or money or something, whatever your idea has been, and it shifts, and it goes through all this very rajastic state, these states of doing, and then it becomes more and more subtle, and the things that you search for are suddenly what you're most interested in is the quality of spiritual masters and to understand their quality, and you just read these stories because you want to see the essence of you want to see the silence of Ramana as close as you can. You're so curious.
Can't I find an interest in this without the search and just because it's funny and interesting?
Yes, but then the question is, who is it that wants to be entertained? There is, you understand? There is someone at the core. As soon as you try to uh, justify that kind of search, to whom does it have to be justified? Why isn't there, or why isn't it enough that there is just this natural search, the natural longing that awareness have for itself? Because you want, maybe you're afraid of losing that. That there has to be something, because otherwise you think that you will give it up. But see if you just can trust this intuitive sense that it's just longing. And you don't have to justify. Who do you have to justify it to?
Yeah, and I don't really have a problem with that kind of search and that longing anymore. It's more if we look at it from this perspective, how do we look at doing pretty much anything without having to ask, can't we watch a movie without who needs to be entertained by the movie? Is the goal of this is not to remove all entertaining aspects of life, is it?
No.
Exactly. I've heard you say that before. So because I know there's been tons of times for me I need to find a movie in order to get this moment to pass, or to find. I mean, like I would watch a movie for that reason, but then at times there's not a reason to not suffer, or in order to make this moment the means to an end. I've watched movies many times in order to make this moment the means to an end. But then there's also times where you can watch a movie just because it's a good movie and it's fun, right? So that's
Yes.
more what I meant. That
yes, but the same thing always here. There's no problem with enjoying things and finding things pleasurable. There's no problem with that. The problem is always identity. And if your idea of entertainment is to escape this moment, then there is an agenda, and there is a person, and there is identity. There's so much stuff going on. But just felt like a movie, and you watched the movie.
That's what the books now has been more for me than a search, than a reason, than a longing. It's just it's interesting to hear about their stories and your stories, and hearing about your story about like reading it on your website. It's interesting, not in order to get somewhere from it, not in order to, as we talked about, watching a movie with two different goals. There's a goalless
Yes.
watching a movie as well. So that's more what I meant, that the search is, the longing has faded away a little bit, and I'm just watching the movie because it's a good movie. So.
Yes. And this reminds me of something that my teacher said to me when I left him. I said, "Thank you. I am so happy. I don't feel like I need anything." And he just said, "Don't stop practicing." Because he understood that the danger in feeling this contentment is that the person starts to feel some deep contentment and connection to it, and it gives up the sadhana because of it. And he was just, there is more to this. I have to continue. That's very good advice, because it's very easy to also feel like it's sort of done. But in your case, it seems like there is some longing that still pulls you towards this. So something is still stirring.
Definitely, there's a constant finding of an ego still there, and if there's times where I thought I was done or whatever, then that would very soon be recognized as just another part of the ego. So I'm not in any way trying to claim that or think that about myself either. It's more, I just think it's interesting to hear about your anecdotes and the anecdotes of these people without the longing, for no reason whatever. Then I think it's my interests have shifted a lot after this as well. Things that used to interest me before is not that interesting anymore. Not to say that I've accomplished something and I'm done with something. It's just that my interest shifts and stuff like this are very much more interesting for me now.
Yes. And it's very normal also that things that you used to be interested in, some things will fade away and some things will be accentuated. That's just part of it. Okay.
Thank
you. Yes, come.
Hello.
Hey, what is your name?
Adam. Adam.
Adam.
Yeah.
You wrote to me before today. Okay, very good.
I want to say the questions are not too many because more people have the same questions like you. But I have a question about contentment. The opposite of contentment, when it's like when the mind speaks so loud, and I have the problem to not know if it's a call for change, that something in my life is so bad that I have to change it, or if it's just noise, like, and sometimes I'm able to ignore it, like ignoring a kid in the back seat screaming for candy. But sometimes I identify with this.
Yeah.
And I feel, oh shit, I have to change something. And I start to look for the problem that is not there, maybe. And then sometimes I take decisions that are like just to calm down this uncontentment.
Yeah, discontentment.
Yeah. Do you have any advice what to do not to get involved with this?
Yes, do your sadhana. Do your practice. No, but what you need in order to believe in something is that you have to believe that it is important to you, right? And that these thoughts, they say something very relevant about your state and that you have to act on them now. That is how the egoic mind works. That is the mechanics of it. And when you believe in that, it's very difficult to ignore that, because then you feel a bit crazy because you're not acting on something that you find very important. So, and the best thing is to find a moment every day, at least once, for 30 minutes, sit with your thoughts and see if you can find the space that does not change. And when the thoughts come and when the identity comes, you find the root of the one who is meditating. You find the source of that. And I understand that this can be a bit abstract to start with. It can feel strange. But I am me. You would feel things like, but I am me. What source is there? But if you start to notice, you will notice that there is a space in which everything comes, stays for a while, and goes. Even the thought, I am, will come, stay for a while, go. Why is this happening to me? That thought will come, stay for a while, go. And this this sense of me that you have, if you find the source of that, you will find a deep stillness, which is behind all of experience. And in that stillness, you will notice that things come and go. And if you stay there, they will lose its power. They will lose this strong power that you talk about, that says, I have to change this quickly. It's really pulling me, and all these, and the drama will also calm down in the mind, because the drama of the mind comes from that you find thoughts very important and that you have to act on them now, the mind says.
I believe those, it's like someone, a stranger in the street telling something random, and I start to,
Yes.
oh, maybe you're right.
Yes.
But no,
But this is very much how identity works. And our thoughts are not personal. They're collective thoughts. They come from our parents usually, they come from our environment around us, our ideas, how we put them together. They have actually no personal part in them. But we find them that they talked, oh, you're talking to me. And you think that the thought that if the thought says today is a good day, oh, it's a good day today. Or these are the tendencies that shows that today is not a good day. I stubbed my toe in the door, and this, and I spilled my milk. It's a bad day. And you make these assumptions about your mood, and then you have to live that. That is like the stories that you have to live.
I can add that I'm very emotionally sensitive.
Yes.
So external things affect me a lot.
Yes.
So like you say that, oh, today is a good day, then it's a wow,
Yeah.
so wonderful.
Yes.
And the opposite is also true.
And people who are sensitive like that and don't have much filter, they usually think that it is a bad thing. They always felt them growing up, oh, I'm so sensitive, or I was so emotional with things, or whatever it is. But the great thing with that is that you, it will take you here. It will bring you towards meditation, because you feel that the mind is too difficult to be with otherwise. I have to find a way. And that, in a way, that is such a beautiful thing. So, and also that you will learn a lot about, because your emotions will also be, you will bump into things a lot, and you will have a lot of interactions in your life telling you what works and what does not work. And if you find some peace, and you find a way to relate to your thinking, you don't have to go on the roller coaster all the time, because that is what is so tiring. It is in a way beautiful that you have to do it, because then you get tired of going on the roller coaster, and then you start to investigate how can I live my life in a better way. And that is the most beautiful way of spending your time as a human. But if you see if you can get to it, to make a daily practice, to sit with your thoughts. You don't have to do something very advanced. Just see that you can put yourself in a state that you're calm, and when the thoughts come, see if you can watch them. And there are some things, of course, you can do if the mind is too active. You can recite a mantra, or you can keep your attention on your breath. So you just focus on something to calm down and start to feel focused. And then you just sit. If you start to notice that there is some calm, you notice it. You start to notice that there is thinking. You have to get used to this observing the experiences. That is the first step, to just notice that there is thoughts coming, emotions coming, see that they move, see if you can just totally allow them, relax into them, see that they move, come, stay for a while, go. And even if you're anxious about something, see if you can stay with that, see what is on the other side of that. And all these things, just they're just the beginning stages of doing your sadhana. And then the more you get comfortable, the more you will stay in this field of silence. And then it would be very easy to invite emotions or whatever comes in your awareness into that space. But it takes a little time, and you have to have some patience with it. But if you're sincere with yourself, and that is the most important, to also be very honest that I'm actually feeling this now, or am I actually trying too much, or to all the time be very, very sincere with your experience. That is a very important, very honest with yourself, even if it's going to hurt sometimes. But even in those situations, to be really honest. Oh, I'm really ashamed of this. That's why I'm avoiding it, or I'm something.
A practical question to that. Do you recommend to do it, how say, early in the day before the mind starts to wake up? Like,
Yeah.
In the middle of the workday, for example, it's, it's the roller coaster is already.
Yeah.
Is it better to do it preventive or?
Yes, you shouldn't think of it as a fix. That will just make you disappointed, because it doesn't really work like that. It is to get to know yourself. It's not a meditation fix. So it's not a technique that you use to get out of something, or you cannot escape yourself like that. But if you stay with yourself and you allow yourself and the emotions and thoughts, they will calm down. They should start to be. It should calm down for most people quite quickly if you have a regular practice. And if nothing happens, if you just feel stuck and you feel like, oh, it's just crazy all the time, then you come and talk to me. And you tell me about your experience.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any more questions? I promise we will. Any special requests, or should I let Sanna choose? She said, sure, do you have any requests, or should I let Sanna choose? And she said, it depends on what you choose. So sitter han. So no conflict yet. Good. Sitaram, Jai Jai Ram, 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 Sitaram, Jai Jai Ram. At first, you might think, how does singing these songs help? But when you start to notice that the grip of the identity loosens, the grip of the egoic mind loosens, you will start to notice that the faith is needed. And that the mind, riddled with too many questions, too much intellectual activity, might at first resist singing bhajans. But when you notice that it is the same expression, that meditation and the devotional expression are the same, that there is something in you that can let go in singing, then you will find its purpose. One of my teachers said that the search is like going to the top of a mountain. Whatever side you come from, if you come from the intellectual side or the devotional side, at the peak they will meet. They will be the same. It will always lead to the stillness within you that cannot be touched, that cannot be hurt, that cannot be taken away. And that is the same in the Bhakti Yogi as it is in the Jnana Yogi. Whatever path you're traveling, you will always meet in the heart.